And our first presentation is titled The Dangers of an Interconnected World. And we have Shayne Morgan as our presenter. Shayne is the president of Montana Information Security and co-host of the Open Web Application Security Project podcast, also known as OWASP. He specializes in cybersecurity trainings for companies and individuals and has consistent 5-star ratings from his clients. So thank you for helping me, Shayne.
Thanks for coming today, everybody. Yeah, we've got a really great show. I'm going to be doing something a lot different today. We get a lot of technical presentations in that, and I'm going to show you all the open doors out there and how fast that we can get in and infiltrate them with basic tools. Some of the tools I'll be demonstrating today is going to be Google Dorking. I'm going to explore Shodan. I'm also going to show you some Python scripting. I've got a Python script today I brought that I can connect it to OSINT and enumerate usernames in minutes. If anybody wants to provide a username when we get to that point, that'd be cool. If not, maybe come up with some ideas and I'll show you that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Quite a bit to cover today. I was born and raised in Butte, Montana, kind of a larger-than-life mining town, home of Evel Knievel. One of my first experiences with the computer was in the 5th grade. Has anybody ever seen these before? These cassettes? Yeah, we got a couple here. That's what I learned on. It was the Commodore 1530. And they didn't stick around too long, but it was pretty functional for the time. Didn't have internet connections, pretty basic. Probably compare it to the dinosaur browser game you see in Google, had about the graphics of that. But still, it was on a cassette tape. So we've evolved from cassette, we're at SSD disks now, and also quantum computing's coming up on the horizon. It's been really fascinating to see over the years of how the technology has changed. And a lot of guys my age, we're really fortunate. We got to see kind of the beginning of the computer and able to evolve to where we are today. The operating system I'm using today, this is Linux Mint Mate. It's a free operating system. If you want to get into this, start learning your Linux and some Powershell. Really important stuff to know. This is an IBM, or not an IBM, it's a Lenovo ThinkPad T440. And this runs, just absolutely screams with this operating system on it. So, good idea if you have some older laptops, get Linux loaded up on them. The other thing now that I do a lot of hacking with is Windows has a Linux kernel now. And it's called WindowsSubsystem Linux. You can go to the Windows Store, you can download Kali, Ubuntu, lots of different flavors, and it runs on the Windows Subsystem Linux kernel. So Windows is probably going to end up being more Linux-based in the near future. Just Linux is open source, the number of tools we have with this. And I'll tell you what, this hacking, the entry point is basically zero for cost. All these tools are free. When you get your Kali Linux, your Arch Linux, all your hacking distros, the main thing is just knowing how to install them. And this one, I got a DVD, just went, burned it on. It's that simple. But the amount of tools available out there in these pen testing distros, it's very impressive. There's thousands of tools for different pen testing, enumeration, target exploitation, and today we're going to show you a few of them that are pretty neat. I think you're going to get a real kick out of what we're going to do today. Here's where it begins. A recent article published by Gartner shows that at any given time, there are over 6 billion devices connected to the internet. That's 6 billion devices. And with that, imagine the number of endpoints on those. I mean, there's so many endpoints and so much traffic and data out there. Who really knows where this is going sometimes? All right, is what I want to demonstrate now is I want to show you a tool called Burp Suite. And this is a really popular tool. I have the community edition, and this is a free tool to use. They do make a pro edition, but for today, we're just going to stand by this, and I've got it set up here. Okay. So we go to a website, we log on, LinkedIn, Facebook, any of your social media, and it's right there. I'm going to show you what happens when you log onto a website. Burp Suite has its own browser. We go ahead and get this loaded up here. It'll take a moment to fire. And the browser inside of Burp Suite is going to be Chromium. Chromium was an open source product that Google made into Chrome. Open source is free. You can repackage it, resell it, make it your own. You just have to be able to publish the code. Okay, so we've got our Burp Suite on, our browser's open. I'm going to grab an endpoint here. I'm going to do LinkedIn real quick. Not even going to sign into it. I'm just going to click it right here, and I'm going to show you what happens here behind the scenes when you click a website. Let's go ahead and refresh it. And let's see, there we are. This is all the traffic captured just in one click. We've got numerous endpoints, GET requests, Google, ID. But anytime you click on the internet, you get a lot of stuff coming in. But this is how much data is being collected. Numerous endpoints. We've got multiple GET requests here. Here's the LinkedIn I just did. It recorded the traffic. Multiple scripts. Post requests. GET requests. Advanced searches. Complete searches. This is kind of interesting here. These images and the branding, a lot of those have pings in them that have code set inside of them. They'll actually put tracking cookies inside of the ping images. And that's how they're keeping track of you. We got logs here. That much just happened here in the last few seconds. We're not going to get into this too much today. I just kind of wanted to show you how much data they're collecting when you get onto these websites. One thing that we like to start doing a little bit if we're going to hack these is we will send this to the repeater. This is a post request, so we'll come up here real quick and change it to a GET request. Then we resend it. Wait for the response to come back. Bad request. So that's a little bit of Burp Suite. Just kind of want to show you some of the tools anytime you're logging in. Kind of goes with the thing. I hear people talking about this a lot with AI and that. You'll mention, hey, I need a starter for my car. Half hour later, you go down and open your Gmail, and you've got Napa Auto Parts and all these companies. Hey, here's starters, you know, $29.99. So there's a lot of data collection going on underneath the scenes on that. All right, let's continue to move on here. We'll keep Burp Suite up. And once again, a few more captures there with Burp Suite. Once again, this many devices, there's going to be a lot of wide open doors, and I'm going to show you how many internet leaks are out there. And we might actually get into something today real quick here. The other thing I want to talk about is open source intelligence framework. This is something that is free. It's the OSINT framework. You can go ahead and Google that. And on the OSINT framework, we have a lot of neat things we can do with this application. I got a couple tabs going here. Let's get. Close that one out. All right, here's OSINT Live. You can expand these out. This is something I would really get involved in and check yourself out. This is username search engines, email addresses, domain names. You can get down here into mobile emulation products. You can expand these out. And here at the end of the segment is what I'm going to do. I have a Python script I made today. And I can run that script and I can enumerate this whole area here in about 45 seconds. I can take anybody's username and we'll see how long it takes on this. But it'll show every website you've registered with in seconds. So this is something we use for a lot of, this is called passive discovery, what I'm working on here today. And we'll be getting into some active stuff here pretty soon. But really go through here, and I was talking to somebody earlier. Look at this stuff. You'll see information on you in this area from 30 years ago. There's a lot of information on this. So just another thing to keep in mind when you're out surfing. And so that's a look at OSINT today. Next up, has anybody ever heard of Google dorking? Got a couple in here. Anybody ever found anything good on it? All right, well, we'll change that. So, this is the Google exploit hacking database. Got quite a bit happening in here. This is updated fairly often. There hasn't been much in here recently. But take a look at this. This is not a regular Google search. What we're doing is we're using Google's powerful algorithms to search deeper. And here's private keys leaking out from GitHub. Different indexes, passwords, vulnerable servers. All right here. Let's take a look at webcams. See if we can find anything. In URL, webcam site, Skyline webcams, and that's Roma. So we found something here. Nothing too impressive yet. But it's quite easy to pivot in here and start looking around. And all right, there we go. This is where a lot of your stuff is going to start leaking out. And we got to be real careful with this. Let me see if we can find something here that. But actually here on somebody's camera right now and have complete control of it. Not much in there, but once again, be really careful. Always turn your cameras off. You might not even know they're leaking out there, and I'll show you some stuff with Shodan here in a moment. There can be all kinds of things leaking out. Let's take a look at Flash. Is pretty old. Changing the sources can adjust the camera anyway right now. You can pan them in, change the formats. Once again, we're just right on somebody's camera that's leaking out now. We're not going to go too far with that. But something to watch out. And if you want to get in the business, get into this, take a look at this. There's quite a bit of interesting things there. All right, let's keep moving on here. Okay, next tool I'm going to use today is Shodan. Does anybody use Shodan at all ever? Nice, that's awesome. All right, we're going to have some fun with this. And get my window open here. Shodan gathers information about all devices directly connected to the internet. If a device is directly connected, hooked up to the internet, then Shodan's going to query it for various public available information. The types of devices that are indexed can vary tremendously, ranging from small desktops up to nuclear power plants and everything in between. Okay, let me get this connected here. This is a search here that will find all the intake or all the inventory, the in-tank inventory at gas stations. Doesn't seem to be connected, but we'll get into something else here. Gas station pump controllers, port 1001, automatic license plate readers can be searched out. Voting machines, microtext street lights, prison payphones. If you want to find Tesla Power Pack charging station, electric vehicle chargers, refrigeration units. This is where stuff gets really scary. This gets into the industrial controls and submarine mission control dashboards, wind farms, DICOM medical x-ray machines, door locks, unprotected VNC. This is extremely dangerous. Let's see if we can find something. Got 5,424. Pretty easy. Anybody know how to use VNC? Super easy. Grab that, VNC 7.1, and you're in. We'll see if we can find. Here's something that I really want to show people. We're going to stay in the United States here for a minute before we start jumping into things. But got a lot of big companies here that are out there. Really big companies. We've got 16 on that, 12, 12, and around the world, thousands and thousands and thousands. Shodan images is really interesting as well too, to see if you're bleeding out over the internet. There's a webcam that's been found. It's connecting right now. Things like this is where you're leaking and you don't even know it. You might have your computer on, but we see this, or a hacker sees this, and it's not hard to RDP into that on port 3389. All we need to do is open your Windows search bar, RDP, find and you might be right into the system. So extremely, extremely dangerous, some of these things. Yes. They do. There's a lot of ways that you can sign up and do bug bounty hunting for free. Not for free, but through crowdsourcing, HackerOne, things like that. But one thing with the people here, I don't think we have enough companies looking at this. Just even today, we've seen a lot of data leaks with big companies, haven't we? I mean, huge data leaks. And that's a good question. So, but this is something that they teach you kind of as the basics in your recon process, information gathering. They call this passive. Active is when we start scanning targets. But with passive recon, we can find a lot of information out about people. And that's a very good question. I wondered that too recently. And I'm going to show you a little bit more. And these, we can have database instances out there. And these sometimes you can get right in, and Jenkins. These are tools for DevOps that have different chains. You can pipe right into those. Docker APIs. Let's see pie holes. Does anybody know what a pie hole is? Yeah, they're great. You take a Raspberry Pi and you can use it to block all the ports for advertising. And it's a fairly sophisticated project, but it'll cut all the ads down and it can be quite interesting. Quite a few of them out there right now, about 3,721. You can see some of the countries that aren't quite as large using a lot of these devices. They're really fun. You can hack with them. They're about $35 to $50. The case setup is quite a bit more, but I was able to get these a couple years ago, and they're really good little computers for kids to connect to, and they've got great little Python projects, and so yeah, just some more technology to tinker with. Citrix virtual apps. This can get really ugly, especially if you're in the business workplace and running some of that and it's piping in. Outlook Web Access, Exchange. This is really critical here too if you're doing Samba. Samba is a file sharing setup, and this has a lot of holes in it, this one. This is very easy to infiltrate as well. Operating systems here. Windows 6.1. And you can really see earlier in the presentation today, they were kind of talking about the difference in the countries in that. And I want to tell you something about Russia here. Russia is not as sophisticated as you think. They have so many holes in their infrastructures. I mean, they like to brag. They have some pretty decent hackers, yes, but they're nothing to write home about. In fact, they're actually can be quite easy to infiltrate at times. All right, we've got next up here is, I'll do a couple more, and then we've got our next guest coming in. This is logging in on FTP, which is normally port 21. So logins were successful on all these targets here. This is very easy to get into. All we need to do is just type FTP, and they allow just anonymous login. A lot of the colleges have that. You just go in and FTP that. Hey, what's your login name? And you're in like Flynn. Okay, I'm going to do one more real quick and try to run the script before we're out of time here. And here's where you got to keep your home stereos too. We're right in there. A lot of these come out on the internet. We can actually control that right now. So yeah, some things to think about, and I didn't realize I was going so long today. And Python scripting. Let me show you this Python script real quick that connects to OSINT. And then we'll start winding down. And does anybody have any questions since I'm running a little bit late? Yes. Yes. You can filter down to city, county, absolutely. If you want to define the number of Xboxes in Eugene, Xbox, country US, city Eugene, city and colon is, and you've got to have your string operators though, make sure they're in quotes. All right, this is a script called Blackbird that's pretty fascinating that you can get on GitHub. Let me show you this. This script here, just like Linux scripting, the -u will give you the username, -e will give you the email. Anybody got anybody want to take a crack at it, or should I just come up with something? All right, I'll come up with something. This guy's been in the news a lot. Let's see what he's got going on. Still ripping, it looks like. But yeah, that's every website that username's associated with and has been set up on, and that fast, 38.8 seconds. Well, anybody have any questions? That's kind of winding it down today, but if you want links to these, let me know. And that's called Blackbird. You can find that one on GitHub. But pretty neat tool, isn't it? That's something you could, yeah, go ahead. Yes. It's not trying to log in, it's just seeing if they're available on that. And it'll pull the meta tags too. Just because we use that name, a lot of people use. In fact, if you want, run this on your username. You'll probably find somebody sharing your username out there. And because there's so many people. But this is good also if, you need to check up on the kids or that. This will do it. It's just a simple GitHub script and real easy to download. All right, anybody else? Well, thanks everybody today for joining me, and have a great rest of the afternoon now. Appreciate you.
Thanks again to Shayne for your presentation. I want to remind everybody that your feedback survey is available in the pamphlet. There's a QR code next to the session, so scan that. Please provide your feedback. It's really helpful for planning for next year. The next session will start at 1:45 in this room. There's bathrooms at the end. There's additional bathrooms on the other end of the hall. So we'll see you back in a few minutes. Thank you.